Okay, zooming out a little bit on the physics. Apologize for the way too big of a question, but to you, from either us, you mentioned Axion as more of sort of an engineering endeavor, right?
Mm-hmm.
But from a perspective of physics in general, science in general, or the side of engineering, what do you think is the most, to you, like beautiful and captivating and inspiring idea in this space?
In this space, and then I'm going to zoom out a little bit more, but in this space, I keep butting up against material science questions. So over the past 10 years, I feel like every problem or interesting thing I want to work on, if you dig deep enough, you end up in material science land, which I find kind of exciting, and it makes me want to dig in more there. And I was just, even for our technology, when we have to move the propellant from the tank to the tip of the emitters, we rely a lot on capillary action, and you're getting into wetting and surface energies.
At a scale of like nano.
Yeah, I mean,
scale.
if you look further, it's quantum too, but it all is,
Wait, capillary action at the quantum level.
Yeah, so it
That's
all
so
comes
cool.
back to me to, material science. There's so much we
Yeah.
don't understand at these sizes. And I find that inspiring and exciting. And then more broadly, I remember when I learned that the same equation that describes flow over an airfoil is used to price options, the Black-Scholes equation. And I was like, pff. And it's, just a partial differential equation, but that kind of connectedness of the universe, I don't want to use options pricing and the universe in the same, but you know what I mean? This connectedness I find really magical.
Yeah, the patterns that mathematics reveals
Yes.
seems to echo in a bunch of different places.
Yes.
Yeah, there's just weirdness. It's like, it really makes you think. I think they're definitely living in a simulation. Like whoever programmed
I like
it
that that's your conclusion.
is using, I know, they're using like shortcuts to program it. Like they just copy and pasted some code for the different parts.
Yeah.
It
Think
just,
of something new or just paste from over there.
they won't notice.
My conclusion from that was I'm going to go interview for a finance job. So I had like a little detour.
That's the backup option. So in terms of using Collet engines, what's an interesting difference between propulsion of a rocket from Earth when you're standing on the ground to orbit, and then the kind of propulsion necessary for once you get out to orbit or to like deep space to move around?
Yes. The reason you can't use an engine like mine to get off the ground is, the thrust it generates is instantaneous thrust is very small. But if you have the time and can accumulate that acceleration, you can still reach speeds that are very interesting for exploration and even for missions with humans on them. An interesting direction I think we need to go as humans exploring space is the power supplies for electric propulsion are limiting us in that solar panels are really inefficient and bulky, and batteries. I don't know when anybody's ever going to improve battery technology. I know a lot of people that work on that. And nuclear power, we could have a lot more powerful electric propulsion systems. So they would be extremely fuel efficient, but more instantaneous thrust to do more interesting missions if we could start launching more nuclear systems. But
So like something that's nuclear powered. That's the right way to say it.
yeah.
But is in a small enough container that could be launched.
Yeah. So, I mean, as a world, we do launch spacecraft with nuclear power systems on board, but size is one consideration. It hasn't been a big focus. So the reactors and the heaters and everything are bulky, and so they're really only suitable for some of the much bigger interplanetary stuff. So that's one issue, but then it's a whole like rat's nest of political stuff as well.
I heard, I think Elon described, or somebody, but I think it was Elon that described that eVTOL, like electrical vertical takeoff and landing vehicle. So basically saying rockets, obviously Elon is interested in electric vehicles, right? But he said that rockets can't, in the near term, it doesn't make sense for them to be electrical. What do you see a world where the rockets that we use to get into orbit are also electric based?
It's possible you can produce the thrust levels you need, but you need this a much bigger power supply, and
Like
I
nuclear.
think that would be nuclear. And the only way people have been able to launch them at all is that they're in a 100 times redundancy safe mode while they're being launched, and they're not turned on until they're farther off. So if you were to actually try to use it on launch, I think a lot of people would still have an issue with that. But someday.
It's an interesting concept, nuclear. It seems like people, like everybody that works on nuclear power has shown how safe it is as a source of energy.
I know, right?
And yet we seem to be, I mean, based on the history, based on the excellent HBO series, I'm Russian with the Chernobyl. It seems like we have our risk estimation about this particular power source is drastically inaccurate. But that's a fascinating idea that we would use nuclear as a source for our vehicles. And not just in outer space. That's cool. I'm going to have to look into that. That's super interesting.
Well, just last year, Trump eased up a little bit on the regulations, and NASA and hopefully others are starting to pick up on the development. So now is a good time to look into it because there's actually some movement.
Is that a hope for you to explore different energy sources that the entirety of the vehicle uses something like the entirety of the propulsion systems for all aspects of the vehicle's life travel is the same or electric? Is it possible for it to be the same? Like the Corolite engine being used for everything?
You could, and you would have to do it in the same way we do different stages of rockets now, where once you've used up an engine or a stage, you let it go because there's really no point in holding on to it. So I wouldn't necessarily want to use the same engine for the whole thing, but the same technology I think would be interesting.